just to introduce today's session, session is about how to elevate your Acumatica experience. The team are just going to run through some practical tips to try and help you guys work faster and smarter in MYOB Acumatica. It obviously is it's a huge platform that we operate here with MYOB Acumatica, and each site can be sometimes set up quite differently. But what we are going to go through today is just really around how to use and navigate the system and get the full potential out of it. I typically go see clients, and sometimes just a real small thing, that little 10% can make a huge difference to how you use the system. And I'm astonished sometimes that clients obviously haven't noticed this before. So we'll be going through those sort of tips and tricks today. If you are new, there is a fair few people that are joining today, and some I can see from the list that we've got are new to attending these sessions. But so just give you a bit of concept about them. We do host these sessions on a monthly basis. And this is the first one for 2026. So I'm really excited, and thank you for everyone joining. But these sessions are all about either trying to get more out of the Acumatica system to show our clients different features and functions, or it's sometimes also looking at the third-party applications that talk quite nicely to MYOB Acumatica. So if you are new to these sessions, we hold them on the third week of every month. At the exact same time. You can go to our website and register for those events, but we do obviously send out communication on a regular basis to try and get as many attendees. So let's get interactive. So if you've answered the poll questions, that's great. If you haven't, please do. Just the simple questions that we're going to ask today is: what slows you down most in Acumatica? Is it finding the right screens? Is it too many clicks? The reports and inquiries screens, not navigating them correctly, or is it the data entry side of things, or you're just not sure sometimes about the features that you should be using? The next question is which area would you most like to improve your user experience? Is it navigation and menus, dashboards, data entry screens, reports and inquiries, or the mobile experience? Actually, that one there, mobile experience, there's a lot of clients that are not aware, but you can download from the app stores the mobile app as well, and we can configure those mobile apps to suit what your requirements are. And the last question: how often do you use personalized dashboards and widgets or GI screens? Do you use them on a daily basis, occasionally, rarely, or never? Obviously, you can customize a general inquiry screen for your needs and not affect the system, so don't be scared by doing that sort of stuff. So okay, so just to introduce before I go on that, I'll go and have a look at the poll. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to answer those. So just on the first question, the highest rating question there, I'll just move that across here to the screen so we can see it and go through it. But it's finding the right screen. So most people, 43% said that it was the finding the right screen. And then on which would you like to see most improvements around the reports and general inquiry screens? And how often do you personalize dashboards or widgets or GI screens? It was sort of in between. Some do on a daily basis, some don't at all. So pretty interesting sort of results there, but hopefully today's session will help you guys with using the system better. But to introduce the team that will be presenting today, I've got Angela, who has been with the business for many years, but also did come from working with Acumatica in Malaysia. So welcome to Angela to host for doing some of the demos today. And then we've also got Leah as well. Leah's been with the business for a period of time, but she's had a interesting journey through her time here at AlfBiz. She has worked in SciBiz, which is another ERP solution that we support. And then she's also gone and learnt all about EXO And then she's most recently taken the journey to become part of the MYOB Acumatica team as well. So she has a really good lens for understanding things from different perspectives because of the experience she's had with multiple ERPs. So what are we going to cover today? So first up, we're just going to cover off the login screens and using two-factor authentication, which is probably a really important one. As things need to get more secure nowadays, it is really important that you're using the right credential or right section to log into MYOB. And if you're not using two-factor authentication as a minimum yet, I do suggest that this is where we do need to help you out and get to that. The next thing we're going to cover off is the MYOB Acumatica UI and dashboards, just some general sort of tips and tricks around that. How to personalize your user profile, and then also understanding workspaces. So, you may be licensed up to have full access to everything, but you may want to, tailor your workspaces, and you may even not even know what a workspace is. But Angela's going to go through and show you what a workspace is all about, and then also how that could be tailored to suit your needs. Leah's going to go into sort of like the generic inquiries and talk about pivot tables and stuff like that. And this one here, like a lot of clients that I've spoken to over time in regards to the generic inquiries, they've got it working the way they want it to work. But then they're exporting a lot of data out to an Excel file and then using a pivot table to manipulate that data. A lot of people don't realize that those generic inquiries you can convert into a pivot table as well. So, and that's been around. That feature has been around for a long time. So let's show you how to get the most out of the system and not have to export out to Excel if possible. But in sometimes it might be easier to do it in Excel for some sort of reason. You might need like a point in time snapshot. But pivot tables definitely can help eliminate you having to do those export functions. Transaction screens and shortcuts and stuff like that. And then just also about the user accounts, license usage, and emails is the final thing. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and hand over to Angela to kick us off with the demos.
Can you see my screen, Adam? And can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, good. Okay. So good morning and good afternoon if anyone's joining from the East Coast. Just to introduce myself, I'm Angela Avinash. So I'm sure a couple of you have already met me in person if you are based in Perth. But then I'm looking forward to even meeting the rest of you. If Adam takes me along, it'll be nice to see you all. So just to start with, obviously, Adam went through the agenda here, but then I'm just going to brief a few slides before I jump into the system and speak on what it's about or show that in the system, because that would be more relatable for you, right? So the first screen that we'd like to speak about is login screen and two-factor authentication. So we do have, working with the support team, we can see that most of our cases, like probably 50% of our cases is related to access, 2FAs, regular login and all of that. So you can see on my screen here that you have this standard login, which is your username and password. And then you have the green sign in, right? And then at the bottom here, you have your sign in with MYOB ID. So what sign in with MYOB ID is your 2FA, right? Whereas the sign in with the green button, that's when you're regularly like usual sign in where you put in a username and password. And you don't want to do that every single time. So we always recommend using sign in with MYOB ID, which is your two-factor authentication. And you'll get the code on either your mobile, your email, things like that. We did have a session on 2FA, how to set it up, all of that in one of our earlier webinars. It's still available on our website. You can also get it from a link that we provide. That's also available on the website. So just to understand that part. So, and the other thing is that when users have this password for the green sign-in and they have a different password for the 2FA or the purple sign-in, they seem to not understand why it's not working, but it's probably because of because of that. So when you raise cases with us and you say, but it's the same password that I'm using across, we always have this question where, are you using the green sign-in or are you speaking about the MYOB ID, which is your two-factor authentication? Because if it's changing MYOB ID password or resetting anything to do with 2FA, we have to reach out to MYOB directly, and we can't intervene too much, whether it's changing an authentication method and things like that. But if it's related to the green sign-in, we can always change this. You also have your forgot your password place here, this link here. So be it on your 2FA screen where it asks your username and password, or be it on the login screen, you can still change this yourself as well, right? But we're always happy to assist. So just so you understand, there's a difference between using the green button and the 2FA. And if you are dealing with payroll and you're logging in and doing important things, payroll has made it mandatory that the payroll officer has to use 2FA. Otherwise, you have these authentication problems. You can't sign in and things like that. And we reckon eventually this green sign-in is probably going to go, and they're going to make it all 2FA from here onwards. So it's better you get used to 2FA and two-factor authentication before they make it completely mandatory, right?
Yeah, I'll just put the past webinar into the chat, so if you do want to click on that, you can. So yeah, but there is also, just on two-factor authentication, we can make it mandatory if you wanted to enable that on your site, to make it mandatory that all users use two-factor authentication as well. I did forget to mention just before as well, you are able to come off mute and ask questions throughout the session. So please make it interactive, ask questions if you're not following something. Yeah, please ask questions. It means that the audience is engaged, and it gives Angela and Leah some, makes them feel better when they get questions asked.
Yeah. Yeah, so, okay, jumping back to MYOB Acumatica UI. So this user interface, personally, I work with a lot of ERP systems. My entire career has been with ERPs, and Acumatica is probably the easiest UI to learn, to work with. It's very easy. It's similar across modules, across screens and things like that. But sometimes you just don't know what's sitting there, and you're worried to use that. I did recently have this site visit where a user said, oh, that looked a bit scary. So we were scared to touch that. She's probably on the call as well today. But then it's just that sometimes trying those things out, whether it's in your test tenant or just seeing what happens or asking us that question, might save you a lot of time. It'll be efficient in your processes as well, right? So I'm going to speak a little bit about show the UI, make sure you're using what's available there. And then we have dashboards. So we had another session on dashboards previously, and we do have that on our website as well. So I won't go too much on dashboards, but I'll still speak about, what's available there and how can you design that. Do you have the access to design a dashboard, things like that? Okay. So I'm going to jump into the system demo now, and then you can look at my screen and just unmute and ask questions. So feel free to do that. So let me share again. Yeah, can you see my screen here? Adam, can you confirm, or Leah, can you confirm? Yeah, okay. All right. Okay, so this is the user interface of MYOB Acumatica. I'm sure all of you all are familiar by now how it looks. Your homepage might look different to mine. We're just using our demo site. So I might have plenty more things sitting here, and I'll just show you shortly how to make changes to that, right? So looking at the UI here, obviously here you'd have your company logo, and then you have the global search button here. So during this poll, Adam brought up that y'all had said it's hard to find screens, and trust me, it's hard for me as well. There's just too many out there. So I myself don't know, is it sitting on sales order? Is it sitting on finance? Is it sitting on inventory? I have no idea. So what I do is, and I think a lot of clients who I've come on site do realize I use this so much. This is my go-to for everything. So if I do want to do a shipment, right? I'm going to type in shipment here. So this is your global search button. I would advise to use this as much as possible. It might even be quicker than for you to scroll here, but it's always good to know where it's coming from, because if you're going to refer to us, you can say, oh, but it used to be there, be sitting over here, but I can't find it anymore, and it's not coming up on my search as well, right? So if I type in shipment here, you can understand it's showing me everywhere in the system that shipment is showing. So this could be in the production orders, Workspace, this is under sales order, what are the reports that have this name, printed forms, things like that. The other thing is you might be only stopping at menu items, but you do have transactions and profiles. So if you do have a customer's name, so if I do type in Brooke and Scott here on my search, every transaction that are there in the system, this could be a credit memo related to Brooke and Scott, maybe invoice that you had sent them, maybe a sales order related to them. Across all modules, anything that's sitting there is going to show on transactions and profiles there, right? And then you do have help topics. So I joined you and I have no idea how to do a shipment, right? And then my supervisor or my colleague is unavailable. So what I do is I type in shipment here, and I'd probably go into these help topics. There's plenty of help resources in the system that's not utilized. Sometimes when clients come to us and they ask things, we refer the help resources and we send you the same thing, which is probably already available to you as well, right? And we're happy to do that anytime. You might not feel like reading it, so that's completely fine. But if you're at a point that where our support is unavailable, maybe after working hours, you're doing something in the night, you could always just type in here and refer to that. And then you also do have files here. So you do know that in the system you have attachments, right? So when you put in, imagine I had put in attachment named as Angela shipment, right? When I click into files here, any attachment, be it a PDF, be it a Word document I've put in, maybe an image, something that has the title shipment, that's also going to be listed here, right? So it's always good to utilize these. Don't just stop at menu items, just look at this, use this, use this. It's already sitting there in the system. So these are just recommendations that, why don't you just have a look at it and try that. So this is your global search, which would be very beneficial for you all to find screens. I hope you all don't raise in the next poll that you're still unable to find screens, because it's just sitting there, right? And then we have this recently viewed button. Now, this was something I noticed a lot of our clients don't use this. And during on-site visits, they'll be looking for a sales order they spoke to me about over and over again, and they just be wasting time. And if you all have noticed this, so this is not a power button. That was funny by a client who said they were scared this would turn off the system. So no, that's not going to do that. It's just basically history of what you'd like to see. So this is your, maybe I signed in yesterday night. I looked at the shipment. I wasn't too sure how to proceed. And then the next day I come to office and I'm like, Adam, I don't know if we should go ahead with this shipment. And then all I need to do is just click on this icon and I can see, open the last shipment that I viewed, right? So these are also sitting there. It's good to use this. We do have, next we do have, if I'm going too fast, please stop me and ask questions or ask me to slow down. Put it on the chat. If you're shy, Adam is gonna relay to me, right? I'm just trying to cover as much as possible during this time. So I'm just speeding up a little bit. And then we have companies here, right? So you have multiple companies in the system. So can you see when I click on this, I have company A, company B, DE, things like that. So you can see these are my legal entities in the system, right? So this is different from your tenants, right? So we have a lot of clients who get confused that they don't realize this is a tenant, whereas this is your company. So sometimes if you have, say, 7 tenants in the company, in your website, but then like there's probably company A, B, and C sitting on one tenant, you'd need to specify to us which tenant you're talking about and then which company you're raising this transaction from, right? And it's easy to switch them both. So if I want to jump from company A to company C, all I do is click, and ideally we've set a new color over here, something different, so that you can identify company C and you reduce mistakes. So because sometimes you have to raise an invoice from company C instead of company A, and you forget to make that switch, right? And then we have reversals involved. corrections involved and things like that. So it's always good to maybe try to change the color, ask us advice if you'd like to differentiate between the two, right? So I'm going to switch.
Just on that, I'll just explain on that as well. So I mean, obviously, if you have companies, so what a tenant means is that it could be a complete different company that has no relevance to each other. So that you may decide, no, we want to create a separate tenant for that company, so that because they have no interlinking between the two. But if you do have like intercompany transactions and all that sort of stuff, then you may set a tenant up with multiple companies and branches underneath it. So that's just the differences there. Is you may, if you have multiple tenants, is maybe because they are complete separate companies. So you do it that way, or we sometimes set up clients in this fashion where it's one tenant with multiple companies.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. So
Sorry.
yes, so these, yeah, no, that's okay. It's good because these are tenants. So that's what Adam was speaking about. So you can have new tenants. You can ask us if you'd like us to create a new tenant in the system to have the separate business process. And then when you have different tenants, this also increases your security and access to certain transactions. You might have employees you'd like to just see to sign in and only use certain tenants and not have any visibility to other companies, which can be done on the same tenant as well. But you can always raise a case out to us and we can speak more on what's the difference between having restriction within a tenant versus having them as separate tenants, right? All right. So coming back to dashboards here. So you can see when I logged in here or when I jump across. So if I do go to a different screen here, so if I click on requests, right? And then I want to come back to my homepage, all I do is I click on this logo and then it takes me back to my landing page or my homepage. Right. And then on my left here, these are workspaces, but I will speak a little more about it shortly. Right. So understanding dashboards here, if you can see, I have my design button here. I don't know how many of you have your laptops open in front of you, or you've opened the system probably to ask questions and things like that. You might not all have access to this design because there is a user role called dashboard designer, which needs to be given to you. So depending on your company approvals and things like that, we can give access to it, or they can set that for you. But it's not given to everyone because you don't want everyone just to be able to change dashboards. But if I do click on this dashboard here, so the design here, you can see it's completely simple. I can drag and drop, do things, click on this, which is a widget, what we call widget here. This open orders is a widget, and every record on this, so if there are 24 open orders, these are all coming from a GI or an inquiry screen. So as long as the data is there, it's going to correctly show in your dashboard. So when we have cases or we have clients who come up to us and say like, hey, the values on my dashboard are completely incorrect, there's something wrong with the dashboard and things like that, we need to go back to the inquiry screen and see the data they've put in, because a dashboard is not going to be able to show incorrect data as long as the data is currently sitting in the system. So that's how we investigate if a dashboard case or something comes through to us. But it's good for you to know that it is coming from a particular GI. So it's coming from sales orders for last 12 months, right? And then you can put in colors here. So if a warning color, if you're overdue invoice, you'd put something like red, right? Things like that. So there's plenty for you to play around, test things. Most of you would have test tenants sitting there. So, open your test tenant, try making changes, come to us if you want support, if you want changes. If you do want us to build a dashboard specifically for you, according to the design you like, you can also have us do it instead. So yeah, you can do that as well. So if I do remove this design, I come back here, you have the ability to design a dashboard just for yourself, but you also have the ability to share this within a team, right? And rename the dashboard how you like and things like that. So this sales manager can be, something else, depending on the title you'd like it to be, right? And everything here. So it's as simple as that. You don't need too much technical knowledge playing with dashboards here, but yeah, reach out to us if anything. And the other thing is, let me see what else I have here. Yeah, so back to two-factor authentication here. I do want to speak about your user profile. So can you see my name sitting there on the top right? So if I do click on this, I have something called My Profile, and I'm mostly all of you all should have access to it. And being a manager or someone higher up in your company, it's not only you who have access to your My Profile. Every employee or user in the system does have access to it, but you might have limited access compared to what you can do in the system, right? So if I do click My Profile, and if this is missing for you, please reach out to us and we'll check your access and see why it's missing, or if there's any approval we need to get from someone. So this is my user profile here. So I have my first name, my last name. I can change my password here. If your company allows you to do that, you could also do the same, change password. Then you have your default branch here. So we do have clients who say they have company A, B, and C, but they have most of their transactions occurring from company C. So what the system does is automatically it goes either by alphabetical order or something like that. So every time they log in, a user has to come and change this to company C, which is going to waste your time. What I would suggest is choosing a default branch here. So if I'm always coming into, say, this company, I'll select this and I'll save this so that every time I log in, I don't have to make this switch between 100 to 300, right? So that's sitting there. You also have your home page. So I've set this up as a sales manager dashboard, but you can check in your system what are the dashboards I have sitting here, right? Whoops, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, just on that one there in regards to setting up default branches and all that sort of stuff, as well as some clients, if you are, entering a transaction, you accident, sometimes if you're working in one workspace all the time, it's probably best to, or sorry, one company or one branch, it's best to set up your default so that you're entering your transactions based on that.
Yeah.
We do find in support sometimes that's someone's gone and entered a transaction and then released it, and it's actually the wrong branch they've done it for, and then it's for a little bit of work to fix that up for you.
Yeah. So you can try that now. Sorry, Adam.
No, sorry, go.
Yeah, so you can try that now while we're on the webinar on the side. Just try changing your homepage, save this, and see how it looks when you log in. Right, so this is sitting there. You have your email settings here. Now, this was also something once when I went for training on site to a client, they said that they weren't able to update their email signature. So you have your email settings here. So whatever you have on Outlook, your company logo, things like that, you have the ability to add this here. And if you do want to add an image, you can also add an image, a link, things like that. So it's good for you to just have a look, see if you'd like to use signatures when you're sending out emails from Acumatica as well, right? And the other thing is external identities. So when I speak about external identities, this is your two-factor authentication, right? So you can see for me, I do have my two-factor authentication sitting there that is active, right? I also have the ability to reset my authentication. So maybe I changed phones or changed emails or something of that sort. Then what I do is I put X here, right? So this deletes my two-factor authentication. And the next time I log in, it's going to say, hey, you don't have your 2FA set up. So can you please type in your username and password, and we'll link it to the one that you want, right? So you have this external identity sitting here. You do also have a new screen in the newer releases called External Identity Management, right? So you might, if you do have access to a role called External Identity Manager or something of that, you can see a list of all your users. So this is what Adam was speaking about earlier. You have the ability to restrict forbid login with password. So if I have this ticked here, so imagine I tick this for my entire team. So this would restrict them from using anything other than two-factor authentication, right? And then they'd have to come to you for help to reset this. But you have the ability to enforce this system-wide, but you can also remove this from their account if you feel like, nah, that's not going to work, or they're always having problems with it. So temporarily, I'm going to remove this for this user, right? So these are all sitting there. Okay, so back to my slides. So I'm just going to jump back into my slides to see.
I think, yeah, while you're going back to, where you're going back to those, just in there is also the ability to remove the external the identity. So if someone does lose their mobile phone and you do want them to go through a process of resetting up two-factor authentication, you can manage that within your team.
Yeah. Thanks, Adam. So then back to personalizing your user profile. So you did see reset password, setting default branch, your homepage, signature, reset 2FA. So the next thing I would like to speak about is workspaces, right? Or you might refer to it as modules, or the thing on the left, but it's called Workspace in Acumatica. And it's always something that we ask as well. So which workspace has it gone from? They're like, oh no, I used to see it before in finance, but I can't see it anymore. It's jumped to data views or, favorites, but it's just missing from my usual way that I access this function, right? So I'll speak about workspace, how you can modify your workspace, pin, unpin, favorites, a little screen personalization as well, right? Yeah, okay, sorry, I'll have to jump back to the screen for this. Right, so I'm coming back to my homepage, and I do have these sitting here. So on my left here, you do see there's too many here, and maybe I'm not someone who deals with payroll reports. If you don't have these payroll reports, it's probably because you might be in an older version, because all the newer versions have got the payroll reports. So you can always reach out to us if something is missing, or inquire about when the next upgrade is. You can let us know. So over here, if something is missing here on my left, these are workspaces, I go to more items here, and I can pin and unpin, right? So purchase orders, I always use purchase orders, so I'd like to see this on my left. So I click on this pin, and I can see it, so it's moved here. But if it's something I don't need, I just unpin that, right? So this, if I scroll here, so purchase orders would have come somewhere here. Yeah, it's sitting here. But now I'd like to remove this. I click on unpin, and it just disappears from my left, right? I also have the ability to, which most of you all should, let me check. Yeah, so looking at inventory screen, right? I have show all here. So if something is missing, it's probably because the system is trying not to overwhelm you. So you just like to see a couple of stuff, but if you do click on show all, you can see everything that's available in the system, right? What's visible on my screen might not be visible on yours. It's related to how how your site is configured, but you can always switch between the show all and show less and see what you can see, or if you feel like something is missing, right? So on this workspace here, you have different sections. So I have transactions here. So let me go to something like papers, right? So this is something that you commonly use. Yep. So this one. If I do look at this workspace here, I have transactions, which is basically the transaction screen. So if you go into bills and adjustments, you would be creating a bill, you would be creating an adjustment, you would be creating payment, things like that. Profiles is related to your master data. So this could be your suppliers that are set in the system, your credit terms. This could be, every module has different profiles. So this has customers, your sales prices, your inventory probably has stock items, things like that, right? So it's basically to understand that transactions is a transaction screen, profiles is your master data, and then you have processes. So what's processes? Processes are things that you do in bulk, right? So we have clients who raise cases to us, and they come to us and they say that I want to prepare a payment in bulk for a supplier. I want to do an ABA file to upload in the system. So that's when you use the prepare payment screen. You can still create a separate payment, but you would save time by using these processes which are there in bulk. This could be sending pay slips in bulk. This could be doing just anything in bulk, just actions in the system, printing things, all of that. Then we do have inquiries. So inquiries is what we call GIs, or generic inquiries in the system, right? So when we refer to as generic inquiries, things that come into your dashboard, your widgets are coming from the inquiry screen. So the difference between inquiry and report is this uses a report designer or a report writer gets involved because you're getting it in a PDF, right? Whereas inquiries is built in the system. I have my report writers in the call, and they might, if I'm wrong, they can let me know. But that's what I understand from the system. So if I go into supplier details here, you can see this is like the other screens in the system. It's built into the system. But then if I do go back into a report here, and I go into AP aging, you can see this is going to use the report designer to populate something. So I'm going to run this report in the system, right? So we can always, we'd always try building a GI for that, or we'd go into report, but it's basically the same thing. You'd still be able to export it in Excel, things like that. But obviously PDF is needed for your reporting purposes as well, right? So then you have inquiries, then you have printed forms here. Now, this is an interesting one as well. So when I went to a client's site recently, they did say, oh, I printed the pick list already. So I don't have access to that screen, to that form anymore, that button anymore. That's okay if that happens. You can still go and reprint this. So you have this printed form section sitting here. So if I open this pick list, right, you can see I can find that particular shipment number that it's been done for before, and I can still print it, like reprint it. So you don't have to worry that, okay, since the shipment is already completed and it's done, I've lost access to it. I have to go through the emails and find it. No, it's still sitting in the system and you have access to it here, right? So any printed forms that you're creating in the system, that you're emailing to people, like this could be a sales order, invoice, a quote, maybe a pick list, things like that. It is all sitting here, available in the system, right? So that's one more thing. And and then you have favorites. I'm pretty sure everyone would be using this by now. If you don't, please use this. So bills and adjustments, if I'm an AP officer, I'd like to use this. I would click star here, and it's going to appear in my favorites here, right? And then so under payables, where's payables? So it's appeared here. And then you have your help resources on your left. So these are also there on the newer versions. But if you do have, if you don't have it, it's probably coming in your next release, but it's still sitting there. If it's hidden under more items, please have a look at it. You have knowledge base, you have release notes, what's new in Acumatica, things like that, right? And then we have data views, which has your dashboards and things like that. It could also be sitting somewhere, but you can ask us to move something. Maybe we've built a report for you, or you built one and it's sitting somewhere here. We can move it to finance or payables or something of that sort, right? So yeah, so now I am going to go into a GI, right? Let me see which one I can show. Probably sales orders. No questions yet? Nothing, Adam?
Angela, I've got one. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
It's Karen from JH Wilberforce.
Yeah.
Just quickly back to the inquiries. Mostly inquiries normally gives you the option to go customization. It takes you to the generic inquiry where you can obviously then see where it's getting the data from and make changes. They don't all have that function. Is there a reason for that? Like if you go back to, say, payables, If I go inquiries, check register, and I'll go customization, it allows me the option to say edit generic inquiry. So it means I can maybe hide some of the columns so I can add some information in there. But if I go supplier details, that doesn't take me to the screen to say go, customization. I can go edit that inquiry.
Okay, 1 sec, let me check that. So supplier details, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I reckon MYOB has put some restrictions on certain screens there, Karen. So we can always help you out with that. You can raise a case with us if you do want us to look into this to see how we can modify that. But yeah, seems like they don't allow for everything sitting there on inquiry screen. But whatever is
I
there,
know the answer to this one actually.
All right, yeah,
so I can
please go.
explain that.
Yeah.
So it turns out some of those inquiries, although they are inquiries, they're implemented as customizations. So they're not, you can't find how they're configured in the generic inquiry screen. And in order to make changes, we can do it. It's not necessarily difficult, but it's development work rather than report writing.
Okay, which means it's a customization. It's not something I can change. Yeah.
No.
Is it just removing some columns, Karen, or is it?
Yeah, I think sometimes there might be something in there that I need if I can go add it. So it's always nice if you can customize the generic inquiries. But yeah, I noticed some of them obviously doesn't give you that option. So I was just wondering why.
Have you checked the filing cabinet on the left-hand side to see if there was any columns that weren't ticked there?
Yeah, I normally have a look at that to see if it's anything I can add or hide.
Yeah, that's the first place. It's the smallest little icon I've ever seen, but most people do know about it. But yeah, if you don't, sometimes there's a little filing cabinet on the left-hand side there that you can expand to see what's maybe missing. But if it does need to be brought in from another section in the system, then yeah, we probably might need to get a software developer to do customization there.
Okay, no, that's fine. It's always nice or easy enough to change the generic inquiry, so it's good to have that option. Yeah, so no, that's fine.
Yeah, thanks, Karen. So if I do look into an inquiry, so let me open let's go to this sales order list, right? So it does say transactions, but this is an inquiry that is sitting in the system. And just like what Karen had mentioned earlier, you can see you're able to edit this. So again, if whether or not you're able to edit this depends on the kind of role you have. If you do have a customizer role, then you probably have access to it. If you don't, it's probably missing for you there. It depends on your company's discretion whether they'd like you to edit this or not, because this is the live tenant. So if you're making changes, we'd always recommend change it on the test tenant, try, and then move it to the live tenant, do the same in the live tenant, right? So this is a GI that is sitting here. And this is, again, what Adam was speaking about. So this is a filing cabinet, also called a column configuration. So I can move something that I'd like to see. So I'd like to see who created this sales order. So from my left, I'll move it here, and then I'll move it to my right? So it's going to show at the end. I have the ability to also move this up and down, right? I need to see the owner right after branch name, right? So I bring it here, and then I put okay. So I can see, okay, Sam's done this, Michael's done this, things like that. So it's as easy as, if I don't want to see description, this is not something I'm interested in, it's too many, I'll come back to description here, I'll move this side, okay, done. That's gone off my screen. So this is all I need to see. So it gives me a clean view of what needs to be done, right? And then you have your filters here. So say as a manager, I just need to see the open SOs that need to be actioned or things like that. Which shipments haven't been started yet or things of that. I need to filter as per status. What I do is, it's as simple as this. So you have your filter button here if you haven't been using it already. So you'd click on that, and then I'd put plus here, and I can put in a property saying status equals open. And then I'll put save, and then it's asking the filter name, right? So I'll put my open sales orders. Okay. Apply. So all my open sales orders is just here. It barely took me what, like 2-3 seconds. And then I also have the ability to share this with my team. If I put ticked there, I have the ability to put it as default. Every time I come into this screen, I don't want to see all my records. I just want to see my open sales orders. So I can just set it as default as well, right? So you can have multiple conditions. So, put in a customer name there, put in a date range there, everything that's sitting here, you can use that as a condition in your filter, right? And it's as easy as, it's equal to, starts with, contains, things like that. So if I put contains and I put the customer name as Brooke, so every sales order that has Brooke in it is going to show there, right? So it's as simple as that. So play around and let us know if you have any issues. You do also have the sliding menu here. So on my right, you can see there's a sales order here, this customer, and there are icons. You might not be able to see all of this, but you can let us know if that's something you're interested in looking at. So I want to see this. I'm not sure if I'd like to see this order or this one. So what I can do is I can click this sliding menu here, and you can see that without opening this sales order, I'm able to see what the sales order is about, right? I'm like, nah, this is not the order that I wanted to see. It's probably this one. And then you can see the details would change for that one. And you're like, yep, this is the one I need to order. I need to look into. So you have the ability to even maximize this. Maybe see the customer details, like sales order details by customer, maybe receivables, any invoices related to this SO, things like that, right? So I'm going to put, I can minimize this. I can close this. So this is there. Yeah, so that is the sliding menu. You have your attachments and notes here. So this is moved to the right, but say if I move it somewhere here, which is usually how it is for most of you all. If I had an attachment for this sales order, I can click on this and view. I can, if I had a note for this, so say important SO, please attend, right? And put okay. That's going to be sitting here as well, right? So these are all sitting there on my list or my GI. Yeah, and I have the ability to export this. So I just want to see my open sales order. My supervisor asked for it. I need to email that to them ASAP. I can just click on export, and within a few seconds, I get an Excel file that comes and sits on my PC, and I can email it, right? So you can do all that just from this screen. And then moving from generic inquiries, I think I'll hand it over to Leah now for pivot tables. Let me just share this screen. Leah, would you be able to share the deck as well? Or do you want me to?
If you want to just show that slide.
Yeah,
there's just one slide.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you see my slide?
Yep. Okay. So yeah, another feature of generic inquiries is they can be used as a data source for pivot tables. So that is another way that you can sort of visualize your company's data to get some business insights, as well as drill down. For instance, you can click through to the underlying transaction documents where you've got a total. You can click through and then see which transactions they came from. So basically, I mean, some of you may know this, but some of you may not. So I'll just go back to basics. So generic inquiry is essentially presenting data in much the same way as Excel. And Acumatica's pivot tables allow you to slice and dice the data very similar to how you would in Excel. It will look quite similar if you've worked with them before. I'll just show you just a sort of simple one, how you can do that. So I'll share my screen now. Okay. So everyone can see my screen with all sales orders.
Yeah.
Let's get that out of the way. Okay, so yeah, you do need to have the customizer role as well to be able to do this. So you click on customization, and then you click on pivot tables. And it will open this here, which as you can see is sort of quite similar to Excel. So you just drag and drop the fields over that you want to. So, okay, so I'm going to grab, let's do the filters first. I'm going to do order type, date, status, customer. Okay. And then the rows, we're going to have the order number. And in the values, ordered quantity, scheduled shipment, order total. And then here you have your options. How if you might want, it might be a sum, it might be a count or an average. So you can configure that. You can change the field name so that when you view the table, once you generate it, it can have a nicer name that's easier to read if there's something specific. So now we've put these in here. So we'll give this a name. I'm going to call it sales order status. And then I'm going to click save. Okay. And now the first that you can, before we publish it, we can view to see how it's looking. So I'm just going to click view pivot. Okay, so you can see we've got the order number. We can make these a bit wider. It's easier to see. And then if you want to, you can filter it by order type or date range. You might want to just look for a particular customer. So obviously this is very basic, but you can do it for anything. And you can just create it on the fly if you want to see something in more detail that maybe you don't even want to save. It's just, you just need to quickly look at some numbers, or you can publish it to the UI. So if I click this publish to the UI, it's going to give it a screen ID. It's going to sit in here in the pivot tables where they're all listed. You can add it to your sort of main menu area if it's something very specific that you'd want to have there. But otherwise, it comes from the generic inquiry. So you go to the original generic inquiry, then you can always view the pivot table. So I'll just click publish here. Okay, so now that's published. So we click in here. Now it's already made. We don't have to, but we might want to do some changes or, visualize the data slightly differently, which we can do, or we can leave it as is, click view pivot, and it's ready to go. Okay, so that's pivot tables.
Any questions on the pivot tables at all? Anyone want to share their experience in creating pivot tables? We did have a question, Angela, from yours. I might get you to share your screen. So Annie was just asking about the sliding menu. She missed how that was brought up.
Yeah, 1 second, Annie, right? Let me share my screen.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, Annie, so I was speaking about it here. So when you go to GI or a list. So I did go to the sales order list, and then I have my sliding menu here. So this one. You might not have access to all of this. You might have limited, or you can't probably see it at all. It depends on your version as well. So on your tools and your about, if you do check, you can see which version of MYOB Acumatica you're on, Annie. And you can always raise a case to us, and then we can see if that version still supports this or not. And yeah, we can go from there. Was that your question?
Yeah, I'm pretty certain that 2024. So Annie's just put she's on 2024.213.201. It definitely should be available in that version, because I'm pretty sure this feature came out in 2023.
Yeah, I mean, we can check their site, Adam, probably after the call.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get back to you, Annie, on that. But it should probably be available. So we'll check on that. Okay. So if I jump back to, I'm just gonna, probably the screen, just the last few things that I'd like to show. So on your sales order or this transaction screen, so if I do open one of these transactions, right? This might be silly. You probably already know about this, but just for everyone on the call, you do have copy paste button. So if there's a sales order you'd like to copy and paste, please do that. You can use this copy paste button. You do have save as template as well. So if you have 30, 40 lines sitting there and you'd like to use that as a template and just fill in extra details, that is also available in the system, right? You do have, you can delete and add stuff here at line level as well. So over here, so remember these ones sitting here where you're deleting or adding something is for the entire sales order. So if you want to delete a line here, please make sure you delete from here instead of deleting the entire record, right? And you have the same facility where you can export it to Excel. You do have these 3 buttons here, which is your more actions, which are important to you because you're going to frequently use it. If you're someone who always creates receipts or, shipment or something, what I would suggest is putting star here. So maybe create purchase order. I use this function. Then I put a star here, and then it's going to come here, sitting here, right? And I can remove. So it's similar to what you're doing in your workspace. You can also do the same on your action. And then we have, what else do I have here left? You have your help resources, which I spoke about earlier. That's sitting here. And you have your user account. So this is the other thing. So if I go into a user account, you're probably beneficial for your system admins or your IT departments who are using this, or whoever raised this directly to us. You can see the status as well as license status here. So I can, what a lot of clients do is if an employee leaves the company, they just disable the user, but you are not technically freeing up a license. What you'd have to do is you'd also have to untick and make sure they are unlicensed if you want to use that license for someone else, right? And if it's sitting across another tenant, like I had access to multiple tenants, but I haven't unlicensed myself from the other tenant, then it still says that I've used the license, right? So the best way you can verify that is having this, accessing this license usage. And then when you run this report, you can see who has access to warehouse license, who has access to things like that, before you send a request to us that you want to purchase a new license. Because we've noticed this with clients, they send requests, but they don't realize they have free licenses still sitting in the system as well, right? And then the last thing that I'd like to show is all emails, right? We have cases where clients aren't sure if an email has been sent or not. So you have this all email screen. Not everyone would have access to it because you don't want people knowing, pay slips have been sent or, which invoices have been sent, all of that. So admin users might have access to this all emails. And when you go to this all emails, you can see the status of it. So pending processing means it's still not been sent. So you still can cancel that email. So if I do open this email Okay, probably not in my demo or some access thing, but if you do open that email, you would see that you have cancel email still sitting there. But we usually have automations running every 5 minutes, which means once it's sent, it's sent. But if it's still sitting under pending processing, it's not been sent across. But if it's completed or successful, then or processed, then that email has already been sent. So this is a good way to check if your emails are working or it's been sent. But you can also view on a particular sales order record as well under activities. So if I've emailed this to someone through here, you can also see it under activity, right? There it'll have one there, and then you can open and see the email that's been sent. Right. Okay. I think I'm done, Adam. If there's any more questions, happy to speak about them before we end the webinar. So let me come back to this.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, look, if you've got any questions or queries, I know we are at 2 minutes over time, but obviously for this agenda, we tried jam packing all of the tips and tricks to just get that little bit more out of the system. If you've got any questions or queries, happy for you to come off mute and ask them now. That'd be great.
Angela, sorry, Karen again. Just one more question.
Yep.
When you were talking earlier about obviously saving filters, like there's specific information I want, so I'm putting a filter in. Some of the information sometimes do take a long time to actually come back. It thinks a long time before it gives me the information. Is there anything that can be done about that in the background, like trying to find out why it takes so long?
It's probably because of the number of transactions, Karen. What we would always recommend is try to put in a filter, maybe a date range. Say if you have transactions sitting from like 2020 to 2026, there's about 6 years worth of transaction that needs to be appearing on the screen, which would slow down your system or that thing to load. But we'd recommend just put in a filter like put it just for 2026, the current year or something like that, just to have it faster. But there could be additional conditions you can put in to make it load faster, because it really depends on your transaction, the number of transactions sitting there for the system to read through all of that and understand, oh, is the status open or not, and then come in there.
Okay, so maybe just put additional, like you're saying, maybe a date range or something in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
It could be, yeah. I mean, is there any specific screens, Karen? Is it a
for us, it's the marketing. So all our CRM information, if we're trying to find sales activities and things like that.
Okay.
So we've got a couple of filters in there for all our reps if we just want to be rep specific. But yeah, sometimes you click on that screen and you might as well do something else and you just wait for all the information to load.
Okay. Yeah, it could be some other conditions. Like, I mean, if it's like activities that the sales guys, I mean, is it just the activities that you're looking for in a quarter, or is it, over the past year, or,
I have to be honest, I don't have a date filter in there. So normally it just comes up with all the activities. So I'll try that as maybe just say, give me the activities for the last 6 months or something like that, and see if that's going to load quicker.
Yeah, and have you tabularized it per salesperson?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So you've done that. So sometimes that can be handy then, just to have it just tabularize across the top, and then you can just go and have a look at it. But yeah, maybe in this case it could be just the sheer volume of activities that they're doing from the system, and it might be worth putting a date range filter on there.
Okay, I'll try that.
Okay. Any other questions or queries at all? No. All right. Well, look, I thank everyone for attending. Hopefully, hopefully the session has been useful. Post this session, we'll obviously go through and work on the recording, just do some tidy up and stuff like that. But it will be made available on our page on our website. So if you go to there, you can watch this session again, and as we have put in the chat today, I have put in a couple of the other sessions that we referenced. I've put them into the chat, so if you want to go and click on those links and look at how to set up dashboards or GIs and stuff like that, please do. And yeah, look, thanks for the turnout today. It was a really good turnout of people that registered. So have a nice day, and thanks to Angela and Leah for their hard work in putting some content together.
No worries. Thanks, Adam. Thanks,
Thank
Leah.
you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone,
everyone.
for joining. Yeah.
All right, cheers.